Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Let's Talk Arsenal series, the show in which I'm joined by a fantastic guest, as always, to talk about our beloved club. And today is no different, as I'm joined by Sky reporter James Green. How you doing, mate? You good, you well?
I'm good. It's cold, isn't it?
I got a notification today from Sky News, actually, which is rather ironic with you on, saying that 2023 has been the hottest year on record and that 2024 is going to be even hotter. And yet we're moaning that it's too cold. So clearly we've got something to look forward to coming, is clearly, I say that.
We're British. That's all we do. We talk about the weather and we moan about the weather. It's too hot. It's too cold. It's never in the middle.
Indeed. Yeah, it's either if it's too cold, we need to wrap up. If it's too hot, find some shade. We're never happy. That's the way it goes. How have you been, though? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been good, mate. Been good. It's quietened down a little bit. Christmas was hectic and busy and here, there and everywhere, covering Sky News in a ridiculous Christmas jumper that went a little bit viral. So that was a bit interesting. But no, good, mate. All good. Look and see what 2024 has in store.
Yeah, if you haven't seen James's Christmas jumper that went viral for your sport report on Sky News Breakfast, it's certainly worth checking. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of it while we're talking about something else to show later.
Cheers.
But yeah, it's right. In fact, I've got it. I'll show it in a second. But whilst we've been enjoying the festivities off the field, on the field, it's not been too great. Arsenal, of course, dropping down in the table, out of the FA Cup now as well. At the first time of asking, what have you made of the festivities? They're not festivities. The disappointment, I suppose, of December.
I think what I've made of it, certainly since the weekend, is that everybody just needs to calm down. We've been enjoying such a really amazing time to be an Arsenal fan. It's been great again, and the love for the club's back. You go to the Emirates, the atmosphere's fantastic now. The last couple of years, it's really improved. The fan base coming together a lot more, and it's almost like our first. Okay, we had a little wobble at the end of last season. We all know we ran out of path. Fine. We're having a first wobble this season. It's like meltdown central. Arteta out, the board out, everyone out. And I can't, for the life of me, just get my head around it. It's taken me a couple of days to just calm myself down from seeing the outcry and the uproar from the fan base to just go, right, settle down, everybody. We've got a bit of time now. The players have got time away. They're in Dubai now for the next week. A bit of winter training. And look, the results, they haven't gone our way. There's no doubt in that. In the midst of that, the Fulham game, terrible performance, utterly dreadful. And if every performance in this period was like the Fulham game, then I wouldn't be thinking the same way as I do now. I'd be a little bit more, do you know what? You've got some points there because this is not good enough. We had 60 shots or something in the last two home games against West Ham and against top of the table Liverpool, a team that, let's be honest, notoriously in recent years, we've struggled immensely against. 60 shots. If we weren't having any shots and weren't creating any chances, again,
I'd be... Is that how many we had? That seems mad.
Something like that. It's ridiculous. And it's just like, if we weren't creating any of those chances, we'd be probably having a very different conversation. But look, we dominate. I still believe we dominated the game against Liverpool. We really did. And it's just this one element of the game. Unfortunately, it's a very crucial element right now that we're struggling with. And it's frustrating. Of course it is. We want to see our team win. We want to see our team score goals. But look, it's something that's been going on all season. I mean, I spoke to Mikel at the start of the season, and I think early on in August, so we've probably played a couple of games already from memory, and he mentioned about being clinical. We were struggling at the start of the season to really kill games off, and he'd mentioned that he needs to improve on that, and that was August. We're in January now. It's not improving. It's been a constant problem all season, but it's, there's outcry. I'm sure you've seen striker, and we'll get on to that, I'm sure, but everybody needs to contribute. And last season, goals came from everywhere, which is why maybe the striker situation was overshadowed slightly. This season, without those goals coming from certainly the midfield trio, the Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka as much, it's highlighting that striker gap a little bit more.
The striker, obviously, I think is the crux of where people's frustrations are with Arsenal right now. And Arteta is there as well, because Kai Havertz, again, we find ourselves talking about Kai Havertz, who has obviously played at centre forwards in the game against Liverpool. He played in midfield against Fulham. He was suspended for the West Ham game. Played in midfield against Liverpool at Anfield, of course. He played against Brighton and scored that second goal. It was a really important goal, and I thought, well, he's going to kick on, from that moment after a really good end to November and start to December as well. He hasn't necessarily done that. However, I think the game against Liverpool, people have completely misjudged his performance from that game. I thought the only thing that was lacking from him and everyone was a finish. But I actually thought he was one of our standout players on the day. I've written a piece actually that's gone out this afternoon about this. But what have you made of the? I'm going to call it what it is. I think the scapegoating of Kai Havertz.
Yeah, you're right. It is, and unfortunately, I feel like Arsenal fans consistently find that scapegoat. It doesn't matter what season we're in. There always seems to be one player or a manager. Some, okay, yeah, some, yes. I shouldn't say.
We'll be fair.
You're right. You're right, and you're right. It is some Arsenal fans. There's a lot of them though. Let's not beat around the bush. There's a lot of them. Yeah, it's been unfortunate. I haven't liked it since day one. I think we spoke previously, and I'd said that everybody needs a bit of patience. It's not going to happen overnight. He's brought Havertz in for a different reason and different purposes. He sees different areas of the pitch he can play. He feels that Kai Havertz can bring a different element to our game that maybe we had last season. So it adds to our options. He wasn't bought as a number 9 striker. Mikel Arteta's pretty much said that from day one. He wasn't bought as a striker. I think that's where maybe a bit of anger comes from. But it's not his fault. It's not Kai Havertz's fault. I don't see him on the pitch not giving 100%. I think he's had a couple of games where I've watched and gone, yeah, he needs to get involved a little bit more. He needs to do a bit more. But like you said, from the end of November, I think he's really stepped up. And I actually agree with you completely on the Liverpool performance. And I'm frustrated. And I'm frustrated watching him because he's doing so much right that just gets lost because we're so fixated on the end product. Now, don't get me wrong. His end product has to improve. He's missing a lot of chances. He's missing a lot of headers from close range. He had that header from the corner, didn't he? They just headed wide, which really should have got on target. But his shooting, his technique, it's just getting it all wrong. There's no, he's scuffing shots constantly, and that's something he has to work on. And absolutely, yeah, it is confidence. It's but it's work that he's got to do behind the scenes as well. So look, this is not me. I'm certainly not one of those fans who's slating him, and I'm not one of those fans who's just giving him saying he's God's gift. I'm in the middle. I think he offers a lot to us, and we should be grateful and actually appreciate that side of his game. But he still needs to improve, and he needs to improve his finishing. But look, that game against Liverpool, the outcry afterwards, really, if we could actually finish, we'd have been well out of sight by half time.
Yeah, because Nelson had that chance at the beginning. We had that chance where Havertz got in behind and then played the ball back to Nelson, and Ødegaard hit the bar. He should score as well. In fact, if I share my screen, I can show some of the little graphics on that piece that I put up earlier on. So this is obviously the header as well from the corner that Havertz had that he definitely should have scored in that moment as well. That little layback, as I mentioned there, Saka is the prime.
Should have got Saka. Yeah, agree.
It's just I don't think he sees him. That's in that case. I just don't think he sees him in that moment. But looking at kind of his contribution to this game, the top left-hand graphic is his contribution to the fixture. 11 combinations with Ødegaard. He was fed the ball by Ødegaard more. What I don't like about this is that you can't see Saka in any of these combinations here. And that goes both directions, by the way. These are, combined combinations between the players. And he didn't seem to link up with Saka throughout the game. And there was actually a moment in the second half where Saka gets in behind with a long ball from Saliba. And the pass is on for Havertz to just tuck one away, as you can see on the screen there. And he kind of traps it. He doesn't get his head up. He doesn't see Havertz running. I don't think he controls it particularly great either to be able to play the pass. But Havertz was in these positions a number of times throughout the game. There was another one where Nelson slid in fantastically well to rod the ball away. The ball's played to Ødegaard. He then has the opportunity to play Havertz in, and he plays the ball behind Havertz. Havertz then has to spin, and then by that time, I think Quansah or Konate at the back has managed to get back to stop that opportunity from developing into something that could have been a lot better. And people say he takes too many touches. Actually, I think it was the service in this game that let Havertz down from getting into much better chances to score. So that really was a frustration for me, that he got such a battering from fans after the game, when actually I felt that he was, if you wanted to batter anyone, it really wasn't Havertz. One player also I didn't think deserved criticism and didn't get criticism, but actually I think has been forgotten about, is Aaron Ramsdale, because he had this game where he's not been playing for a long time. Fantastic ball to Reece Nelson, of course. Brilliant save against Luis Diaz towards the end of the game. I didn't think he had to do much throughout the game, but he's talked. Do you remember those comments that went around where he was like talking about how he struggled to focus for extended periods? And I think it was in a conversation with Ian Wright that he said that, and that got latched upon by a lot of his critics. But actually, he showed that despite not having to do loads in the game, when he was called upon in that moment from Diaz, yeah, he got down really low to keep Arsenal in it. Sadly, a Jakub Kivior own goal kind of ruins everything, but I think he deserved a lot of credit.
Yeah, I agree. It's not an easy position to be in, coming in, and we know the pressure around the goalkeeping situation. And I know fans have got their views on whether Raya should have come in or not. Has it disrupted things? But ultimately, some goalkeepers play, they get dispossessed at times. We've seen it when Ramsdale came in and Leno went out, and these things happen. They're professional footballers. They just have to try and figure out a way of dealing with it. But coming into a side after not playing for a while, knowing that the pressure's on you, yeah, it's not easy, but that does show the kind of character that Aaron Ramsdale is. And we as a fan base, I think, are fully behind him. I think there's a affection towards Aaron Ramsdale. I think he's grown on everybody. He proved all his doubters wrong, and I think the fan base really supported him and got behind him. And that's where a lot of the frustrations lie with regards, the Raya situation. But look, let's just put the performance what it is. I thought he was excellent. For a reserve keeper, so to speak, to come in and perform like that against the Premier League leaders is pretty impressive. He wasn't at fault for any of the goals. I did see a couple of nonsense stuff on social media about the Kivior own goal being Ramsdale's fault.
I mean, when you texted the other day.
Yeah, I think that might have been it. That might have been it, and I just couldn't, because I've had messages of people saying Arteta out, and I can't believe that. And then when I see things like that, I just have to take a deep breath. I know everybody watches football through different eyes, and I get that. And I'm not saying that my eyes are perfect. I mean, in real life, they're not. They're terrible. But look, we all see things differently, don't we? And but I don't know how anybody can say that was Ramsdale's fault at all. Kivior doesn't touch it. That ball's punched away, and we're maybe having a different discussion about what the outcome might be. But the Ramsdale was excellent. But if anybody thinks he's going to be back in the Premier League side, he won't be. We know who the number one is, and that's just the situation. He won't let him go in January, even though I know Aaron Ramsdale himself has been joking with a few of the players about, they can rent his house from January because he might be off. He's not going tongue in cheek. He's obviously, it's a player's frustrated, like, as he should be. Do you know what I mean? If he wasn't, I think we'd all have a bit more of an issue with that. You want to see your players desperate to play, and we want to see him playing, but this is a situation he's got to find himself in. But look, an injury to Raya could put him out for the season. You never know. And then Ramsdale's got an opportunity to come in, and that's what's important. And I will still go back with the goalkeeper situation. Last season, when Matt Turner came in, we were a disaster. Completely changed how we played our game. We couldn't play out from the back because he wasn't good enough. We've seen that in his time already at Forest, certainly this season. We haven't got that now. So if we do get an injury to Raya, we've got a keeper who comes in that we play exactly the same football. Nothing changes. That's a positive. So we should maybe realise that and think about that we were one injury away, goalkeeper-wise, and everything changes again.
And it is true, and this is why Arteta went into depth, I guess, because in case there was an injury. But I can't help, and this is obviously a show where we talk about who has got it wrong at Arsenal at the moment, what are kind of the reasons behind what's going on. And I know this is more of a long-term thing throughout the course of the season. I just feel like this was an unnecessary situation that we have created for ourselves, if that makes sense.
I mean, that's why football's all about opinions, right?
Sure. But what's your opinion?
my opinion's a little bit different. I understand the situation with the goalkeepers. It is different because there's only one player. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got like a forward, you can potentially slot two forwards into a team, etc. So I understand it. Same with fullbacks. You know, Tommy Asu brought in as a right back, could probably play centre back. He's been playing left back when he has. And so I do get it. And the goalkeeper situation is different. But having said that, and again, I do, maybe Mikel's persuaded me a little bit as well from when I spoke to him and how he explained everything. And, you know, we sort of start the season, Courtois for Real Madrid, ACL out for the season. If that happened to Raya or Ramsdale, and we haven't got a goalkeeper at the level to play out from the back, because that goalkeeper is so pivotal to how he wants his team to play. And I think I just feel we forget that sometimes. That goalkeeper role really just starts off everything for Arsenal. And so my opinion is that we've got two fantastic goalkeepers. One's on loan, who we might have to pay, 25, 27 million for at the end of the season. We probably will do. Fine. I've got no problem with that. Aaron Ramsdale's transfer value will hold. He signed a new contract not too long ago, so he's still got loads of value in him if the decision's made to move him on. But to sign a goalkeeper of David Raya's ability for 27 million after having him on loan for a year, I think that's great business. We've got two high quality goalkeepers. And yet, look, yes, I can understand where people say, okay, you're putting a bit more pressure on them, but there should be pressure on goalkeepers anyway. You know, if you don't play well enough, what right have you got to stay in the team, whoever you are? So, you know, Ederson's had some decent keepers in the past back him up, but he's continued to play at that top level. He's not been drawn into it having any competition. Now that's down to David Raya. He's got the shirt at the moment. He's got to make sure he just keeps his level up. It's as simple as that. I haven't got a problem with it.
Goes, which I would be surprised if he didn't in the summer.
In the summer.
In the summer, yeah. In the summer, I'd be surprised if he didn't. Would you expect us to bring in a goalkeeper of a similar level to Raya then as competition?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. They won't, you know, he won't see it as, get rid of one, take the money, and then just kind of leave it and look at what we've got in house. He'll look at, okay, who can we bring in? Probably certainly at a lower fee that is good enough playing with his feet. I think playing with the feet is just so important to Arteta. So yeah, look, if the situation carries on like this, I'd be surprised if Ramsdale sticks around in the summer. It'd be a shame for us all, because look, I'm a big Aaron Ramsdale fan. I like what he's done. I love his character. Great kid. But ultimately, he's not going to stick around. But if we can crawl back, I mean, what do we pay? 30 million maybe for him? Was it about 30?
Yeah, 32, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we could easily get 40 plus for him, in my opinion, in today's market. English, British keeper, no doubt about it. So we're going to make profit off him, which is important for FFP and important for reinvesting into the squad. So look, I've got an issue this season. I don't think, in my opinion, the reason why we're slipping up is not down to the goalkeeper situation. We're talking about, like, the name of the show, who's to blame and all this. That shouldn't be an issue, in my opinion. That if we watch the game, look at what's happened throughout the season, and in particular the last couple of home games, it's glaringly obvious where we're slipping up, and that's in front of goal, not the other end of the pitch.
The conversation onto that then, because obviously that is where we are slipping. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus' availability has been up and down this season. We've had a period where he's been available, and when he has, he's not necessarily delivered the same level of goal scoring that he was last season. Eddie Nketiah has been given opportunities, and besides that hat trick against Sheffield United, and I think a goal against Fulham from the bench at home, there was one other goal I think as well this season in the Premier League, as 2. But besides that, we're not necessarily seeing too much of him. Trossard played at centre-forward last season, but hasn't really done it this season. I think he played once there against Burnley and got a goal and assist, I think, in that game, actually, but hasn't kicked on in that position. He's not been selected there again. And then, of course, we've got Havertz now playing there for the first time against Liverpool since that Community Shield win over Man City was the last time we saw him play at centre-forward in the league. So where does it lie in regards to what's going wrong? Is it just as simple as they're not finishing their chances? Is it a philosophy point of view? Is it a coaching thing? How do we solve it is the next point as well, obviously.
Well, look, the players need confidence in front of goal. I think the one thing about Mikel Arteta, sometimes he's a closed book, but actually he's been quite open about the lack of confidence. That's the issue he sees at the moment. It's a lack of confidence. We've got to rectify that. And I just am not seeing the big panic. I see that. Are we playing as well as last season at this stage? No. I don't think we've been as free flowing as we were last season with the pace to our play. I think the pace has not been there as much this year. A lot of that is down to clubs working us out, understanding how we like to play now, and that happens. That happens to all clubs, and they're planning better. For taking on Arsenal, to getting the men behind the ball, to doubling up on Saka, doubling up the other side of Martinelli if possible as well. So look, they've got to try and figure out different ways of playing, which I think they're trying to. But look, we've got some new players in the team. I still go back, and I think I was having this conversation with a friend of mine this week, and I think this is not the forward line, but further back when Arteta signed Jurien Timber, that was such a. He saw him as so pivotal to how he wants his team to play with Declan Rice in the middle. You don't spend £45 million on a player and don't see a role and an important role in the team. And that was a big blow. And he had to really have a bit of a rethink. Maybe, in my opinion, he hasn't developed or changed the style as much this year because of the Timber injury. I think that was a big part of what he wanted to do, to offer, again, different ways of playing, to keep the opposition guessing. The Havertz thing, it's a really difficult one, because I think, I said you spend 45 million on a player, you've got to roll for them. You spend 65 million, you definitely got to roll for them. Where does he fit in? I'm still not quite sure where his best place is, because actually, to me, as that false nine, I think he's pretty good in that area. But
it's either false nine or second striker. We don't play with a second striker, so therefore it has to be the false nine.
Yeah, because in that midfield role, at times he drags players out of position. Sure. It's really difficult trying to sell it, but I understand visually watching it. At times he feels like he's not in the game as much, but his movement is excellent. His movement off the ball is probably second to none in that Arsenal team, in my opinion. But we want to see more. We want to see him involved more.
Because it's not like a tangible thing. I spoke to Edu after the game against Luton. Me and Simon Collins and even Stanley were in the mix zone after the game, and Edu came past, and obviously Havertz scored a really important equaliser in that game. And we talked about Havertz, and we were saying, like, people just don't see his movement. And Edu was like, that kind of like, thank you. Like, this is why we've signed him. It's so clear that what you see in him, that it's there. It's just everything else. It's the things that, your average Joe needs to be able to tangibly attach to, and that is numbers. That is through assists and goals.
It is, and actually, but that they're not wrong either. Do you know what I mean? So,
of course,
we do need to see more, and I just don't want to see Arsenal fans get on his back, and I don't want to see him become a scapegoat, because he does. I know, probably too late, but he offers so much more than that, as we said. But he does need to, he does need to finish better. He needs to score goals. When he went through that stage of scoring, what was it, 3 in 4 games or 4 in 5 or something like that? Yeah. It was excellent. All of a sudden, everyone just quietened down. It was like, oh, okay, it makes sense now.
Was it? Like, it was the team. It was we talk about, he had that run, and actually for me, like, there were times where, like, the Brentford goal, obviously, where he tore off out the mire in that game to get 3 points. Massive goal and performance against Luton, where he got the equaliser in that game. He scored obviously the opening game against Sevilla, I think it was, in that game. He scored obviously the winning goal against Brighton in that 2-0 win as well. Really important finish, and it was great to see a finish where he was kind of running onto the ball, slotting it past. I think it was Verbruggen in goal to make it 2-0 on the night. And then since that point, we had the Aston Villa game, where at the end of that Aston Villa game, he scores a goal that is ruled out for the stupidest handball rule that has ever been invented, which is if it just slightly grazes your fingernail, it's then ruled out. I don't think that should be the handball rule. I think it's a ridiculous rule. And obviously it might seem biased because it's cost us in that game. But then that's another really important goal he scores at the end that he can use to build his confidence with, But
Tom, remember that
sorry, go on.
Tom, remember that goal though. Remember the referee saw that handball. Let's not forget, he saw it. Brilliant eyes.
I have no idea.
Anyway, sorry, move on. Move on before I get myself in trouble.
That run of games, after the Aston Villa, where we've then drawn at Anfield, we then beat, I think, what was it? After Anfield, we then lost against West Ham, lost against Fulham, and then we lose in the FA Cup. It's Havertz's form has dipped, but everyone has dropped after that Aston Villa game. Everyone's form has dipped after that game, and he is now again being battered because he's not the guy to stand above the others that are underperforming. And sadly, this is where I have a bit of a crux with Havertz, because Havertz was signed as, in my opinion, it was a risky deal to do in the summer. They took a risk with Havertz for all of his talent and his brilliant movement. It was always a risk because Arsenal were a team on the up, and what we did is we signed a player that needed to be nurtured and revived in terms of their career, and that's where I think with the Havertz deal, we may have chanced our luck of maybe a bit too far.
Yeah, look, I think that's a fair point. And, I'm not somebody who slams anybody's opinion. I think you spend £65 million on a player, of course, you're going to be, that's going to be a focal point. Everyone's going to think about that. You need to see more. It doesn't take long for us to go back to signing Nicolas Pepe for £72 million and seeing very little back from that. So look, you are going to be scrutinised more. I still think he's a quality player. Again, if he just improves his finishing, we're not having this conversation, and that's what frustrates me probably more than anything. If he just improved his finishing, I just think it'd be a completely different feeling around the player, and he might still play exactly the same way, but all of a sudden everybody starts noticing that because he's scoring goals and they're praising him on his all-round performance. But you made a good point about it's not just him, and it's so true. We've had no left side this season. None. Zinchenko struggled. Martinelli's just completely off it at the moment, which takes out a whole side of the pitch that we were so fruitful from that side of the pitch last season at times. So we're playing on the right side, but then what's happening is Saka had a good start to the season. He's now been marked out games most of the time. I doubt he's having as many touches as he certainly was last season, doubling up every time.
Yeah.
If those intricate triangle plays with Ødegaard, Ben White coming in, Declan Rice sometimes coming in, if they don't work, that's when we're scratching our head. And that's where we do need a plan B, because, again, that left-hand side is not working. Nothing's happening from there. We're not getting any joy from that side. So, look, yeah, it's not just Havertz. It's your Martinelli. Ødegaard, for me, again, I don't want to criticise his play, because actually I personally think he's probably, in this period, I personally think he's been one of our better players. I think he's getting on the ball more.
December.
Say that again. He got player of the month, did he?
One player of the month for December. Yeah. So,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I think he's been excellent, but again, he still needs to get those finishing boots back and put those chances away when he gets them. And again, look, Saka, we can still criticize Saka. It's fine. It's okay. I want people to understand you don't have to be offensive or abusive, but you can criticize Bukayo Saka if he's not performing, which at the moment he's not bringing those goals. He's lost his shooting boots recently. That final touch in that final box for him is struggling as well. So we've got a position at the moment where just everybody in front of goal seems to have just lost their confidence and lost their composure. Hopefully they go away and fix it. As soon as they do, I think we'll be all right. I just don't understand. We've just played Liverpool off the park.
You nailed it with the Fulham comment when you said if every game that we played was like Fulham, then I'd be like, well, we're screwed, because that performance was really, really poor. And
awful.
That wasn't how we played against Villa. That wasn't how we played at Anfield. That wasn't how we played against West Ham. That wasn't how we played against Liverpool on Sunday. That performance, I think, was just the peak of the trough, I suppose, of the form at the moment. Being as bad as it was, we've created so many chances in these games, and that's where I think when the fingers start getting pointed towards Arteta, I can't get really how they're getting pointed at Arteta, because people don't like me talking about stats because it proves their points wrong. Usually, that's why they don't like me talking about stats. But You know, when it comes to the XG over the last 3 games, it's 6.5 and we've scored 1 goal, whereas the opposition have got like 6 goals from 2 point something XG. And you know, as you said, I think it was 48 shots against Liverpool and West Ham in the end that we had.
I've rounded up
the box against West Ham. Like, the numbers are ridiculous. And that's coming from Arteta's philosophy and his coaching and his directions. But he can't be there in the box to finish off the chances himself. So is that the biggest kind of bat to the ball that's coming in from the Arteta out crew, saying that he's not doing a good enough job?
It should be. It just pains me. It just pains me. Sometimes I have to turn my phone off. I have to go and sit in a dark room and just have a few deep breaths for myself. But it's not just Arsenal. It's this aura of football fans in general. It's like West Ham. West Ham are having the best time of it. A European trophy. David Moyes took over that club. They were literally fighting off relegation. He's then taken them on 2 massive cup runs. He's doing wonders at that club. And there's still an element of that fan base going, oh, I want him out. Mikel Arteta's taken, again, a really average side with a squad of players that, quite frankly, at times, there were some of them weren't fit enough to wear the shirt. They didn't care as much. There was no philosophy. There was just no energy around the place. The fan base was split. It was awful. And he's united the club, took them on a run. Okay, we missed out on the Premier League title last season. We were never, ever, no one ever would have predicted we'd have been that close to winning the Premier League title last season. Not one person. So nobody can say they did, because they didn't. We punched well above our weight last year. We've then invested. We've bought in Declan Rice, probably the second best central defensive midfielder in maybe Europe, maybe the world, in my opinion. Yeah. Maybe that's stretched too far. I don't know, but
I'd put above him. Yeah,
that would be my opinion as well. We managed to prize him and get him to Arsenal, which in recent years we would never have been linked with him in a million years. And he came because of Arteta. So we've managed to, and he's managed to flush out loads of players. He's managed to bring in new players. He's managed to give the confidence to some of the younger players in the squad as well. He's managed Saliba perfectly. We've now got this world-class Rolls-Royce centre-back. He's done wonders. And just like we go on a bad run, but we in games that we really should have won, and people say, get him out. Tom, I can't, honestly. That's why I messaged you this. I just can't. I
think that what you said about last season is the reason why, because the expectation on this season following what was an overachievement last season, is why people are having, are saying what they are. Because if you imprinted this season on, if say last season didn't exist, right? Say this season was last season, right? So we finished 5th, and then you're going into this season with the expectation of obviously where Arsenal are still trying to move forwards. If we were obviously just a few points off of the top of the table, we'd drawn at Anfield. We've already beaten Manchester City this season. The mood would be so different. But the reality is, last season we did punch above our weight, as you said, and that raises expectations. I also think it's one of the biggest reasons why the atmosphere in the stadium is different this season. Because last season we rode the wave of surprise and the thrill of being in a title race. Whereas this season, if we're not 1-0 up in 5 minutes, the Emirates goes quiet because they're like, come on, guys. Like, you should have scored by now. It's Arsenal. We compete for titles. And we're like, actually, yeah, we hope to compete for titles, but we did that once in the last 1.5 decades, So I think that sadly, it's fickleness on our behalf as Arsenal fans. It really is. But it is the reality that Arteta's got to deal with. I will ask you something about Arteta's press conference before the Liverpool game. It was a comment I didn't attach with too well. He was asked about the 88 goals that we scored last season, which is the most we've ever scored in a Premier League season, better than Invincibles, better than double winning sides, better than the times we've had Anelka, Henry, Van Persie. More goals than we've had these players with the squad that he had last season. And he said that was a one-off. And he said that, it was kind of like a one-off season in terms of goal scoring for us. I didn't like that as an answer, because for me, I'd be like saying, if it was me in his place, I'd be going, that's got to be our target. That's got to be the inspiration for us going forward to look at that. Yes, it was an incredible season where we arguably punched above our weight, but we can't see it as a one-off. We've got to see it. That is the inspiration that we need to try and go again.
Yeah, but what he's doing is managing expectations.
Oh, I know what he's doing.
Yeah. Come on, we know, mate. We're there. We sit with it. Oh, look, we want a dream, don't we? But maybe he's more aware than most what Arsenal fans are like, and they get so far ahead. And if it doesn't happen, he knows they're all going to go Arteta out, Arteta out. But look, he's just managing expectations. Internally, he's not saying that. There's no way internally he's saying, that's all right, lads. Great effort last year. We don't need to worry. We're not going to go anywhere near that. There's no way. And ultimately, look at, again, what did I say, 48 shots or whatever. West Ham and Liverpool at home. No goals. If we're scoring goals, as we should be, because we're creating chances, that's not the problem. And if we start putting the ball in the back of the net, 88 goals could have been exceeded this season. Yeah, it really could be. So look, I can understand why you might have just rolled your eyes a little bit at that, but look, he's trying to manage expectations.
I wasn't rolling my eyes at all. It was the only thing I was rolling my eyes.
Come on,
because it was such an obvious answer.
Of course,
it's not obvious because it's annoying. It's obvious because it's true. You're right. He is managing expectations. That is exactly what he's doing. And you're right. He is saying internally something very different to what he says to us mugs outside in the press conference. So
of course he is. Of course he is. They don't take us seriously, mate. Goodness me. It's like, they use us for messages. I mean, ultimately, that is actually the thing. Most of the time they are using the media to get their messages across. What do they want to say? So they have an internal discussion. Right, this is what going to be talked about. Let's try and work on this message. Let's push this message across, and that's going to be our narrative this week. And look, that's what they do. Of course, he's got to do that with the goal scoring because the goal scoring has not been good enough this year. That's the area where we're struggling. It's not defensively. People can point at individual moments in games. Okay, set pieces. Yeah, we need to improve in defending set pieces. That's pretty damn obvious at the moment. But we're not losing games because we're conceding the odd goal in set pieces. We're losing games because we're not scoring enough. And it really is as basic as that. But look, the message, everybody just needs to calm the fuck down, basically. They do. I just want to scream it, Tom. Just calm down, settle down. I understand you, and actually, Arsenal fans should use this break more than the players. Actually, use this 2 weeks off to calm yourself down, rethink, reset. Remember what it was like pre-Arteta. Look at the work he's done. Look at where the situation the game is at. Again, I mentioned the Fulham game. It's only been really one Fulham game that's been that bad this season, from my memory. You might be able to tell me another. I don't know, but that was the worst of the worst this season. And
obviously in terms of not creating anything, I'm trying to think.
Not creating, but it wasn't just that, was it? It was the body language on the pitch. Everything was off. Everything was off. It was a real horrible watch. There was no flow to the game at all from our side. I thought we were so bad. I don't know whether it's the conditions or what, 'cause it wasn't a particularly nice day, was it? But
in the League Cup, that was pretty bad. I'm trying.
West Ham.
Yeah,
I still thought. Yeah, but we were better. We still had chances in that game. I thought West Ham were good, but I don't think that was as bad as Fulham.
Obviously, we lost. We were 3-0 down, weren't we, at West Ham? And in the League Cup,
it wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
I'm not.
But you're right. No, I don't think there is a bad game like the Fulham game.
No, yeah. and also what everyone forgetting, we're in the Champions League knockout stages. We're in the last 16. We've had a brilliant group stage.
Right. If we were playing Porto tomorrow, mate, I'm not confident. That's the thing. We need to rescue the form going into February. But
you're not
Palace at home, and you got Forest away. 2 games, which notoriously for Arsenal, Palace have always got something. I know we've had a recently better record against them, but even at the Emirates, they've done okay. Forest away. That's horrible. Something we just never, ever, ever managed to do. And then you got Liverpool, first game of February.
Yeah, it's at home though. But
and they might not have Trent from the sounds of things.
He was excellent. He was excellent on the weekend. I've got to say, that was one of the best I've ever seen him. I think. Look, you're right, but I would feel confident with the Champions League because we've played different in the Champions League this year. We've played more open. I feel like we've been certainly much better in front of goal. in the Champions League game. Some of the best. I mean, that was it. PSV first half at the Emirates, just outstanding.
Flying. Yeah.
Probably the best we've played all season. It was just unbelievable. And you know, they'll get their confidence.
I know we didn't finish our chances in that game either, but Brighton was brilliant at home 2-0.
Played them off the park
by about 4 or 5. Yeah. So,
but this is the story again. The story of our season. There's been games where we've won 2-1 and we should have won 4-5-1. You know, and this is this clinical problem that Arsenal have had all season. So it's not just this period. We've maybe got away with it in games, but we've just got to solve that problem. But look, it's not all bad. And I just want everyone to just remember it's not all bad. And we've got a wonderful trip to Porto to look forward to in February. A real opportunity playing against them to get through to the quarterfinal of the Champions League. I mean, this is what we're in it for. We want those glory days. We want those trips in the Champions League. We want to be competing with the best in Europe. And look, we're doing that. Okay, FA Cup, disappointing. Fine. I tell you what, though, what it does do, it will free up a weekend when we would be playing FA Cup. And it gives players a little bit more time off to prepare and get ready for what will be the Champions League run and hopefully a run in the title race still. I don't think we're out of the title race, by the way. I know people will probably
of course not.
think that we are, but there's a long way to go. But look,
you know, it should be every season. To expect that Arsenal winning the title is not going to be a struggle is just to have ludicrous expectations, because everyone's favourite going into the season is City, who just won the treble. You know, Liverpool are back this season. You know, Liverpool last season were a bit of an anomaly. They didn't have a good season at all. But you look at the past 6 seasons, Liverpool are always with Man City. Every single time they're with them. So you can't just assume that they're going to have another poor season. So it's us and Liverpool trying to chase down Man City. And at the moment, Liverpool are having a fantastic campaign. Have lost one game, which they shouldn't have lost because of a VAR hilarity. And I think that when it comes down to, you know, where we want to go, there is potential. And I think it's that potential. It's the fact that we have shown so much promise and we've shown the potential to rip teams apart. And if we take our chances, win by far bigger scorelines. And it's just about converting them. And that's what you should be excited about, but also are fair to have your concerns about. We're going to go to part 2 and your questions as well for the last 10 minutes or so of the show. I did promise you that I'd show James's Christmas jumper. Take a good look. There's the man, and if the legend on Sky News, the very well-regarded Sky News there. Was it your choice to do that?
It was the producers, really. So I turned up in that jumper to work. So I turned up not in the studio, like behind the scenes. It was Christmas Eve, and I just wanted to bring a bit of Christmas joy, make people laugh a little bit, put a smile on their face, and that was it. So I got changed in my normal suit, and the presenter in my first link just kind of said, "Oh, you turned up in a nice Christmas jumper." And I said, "Yeah, just trying to put a smile, get festive, all that stuff." Producer was like, "Oh, you got to bring it out." So next time I brought the shirt out and this, and then all of a sudden it went from that to the presenter going, "Well, by the time you go, you're going to have to put it on at some point." And that was it. So I had it on under a blazer, did my 5-10 minutes presenting, and then took it off, and then the silly headlines from the Sun that I stripped in front of my horrified work colleague.
Surely that's not then what reality was. Surely not.
I mean, it has to be real. It was in the Sun, Tom,
Indeed. Right, let's tackle some new questions, people. Mike says, who moves the needle more for what we need right now? And assuming maybe a £10 million difference in their fees. Amadou Onana or Mikel Arteta?
What a question that is. Wow. God, wow. I love Arteta, by the way. I absolutely love
I love his bravado.
He's a great lad as well. Honestly, Tom, he's a brilliant lad. Lovely. Looks at stuff in a fun way, light-hearted. He'd be great around the training ground. The players would love him. But right now, Onana. Really? I think that, I like Onana. I know Arsenal have been a fan of him ever since he came to Everton. I think even before Everton, they were monitoring him. Tall, aggressive, front-footed. Yeah, I like him in that left-sided central midfield role alongside Declan. I tell you what, that's the That makes up, that bolsters our midfield. That stops that issue area, problem area in that left-sided centre midfield area. And we are light in that area. Let's be honest. With Thomas Partey can't keep fit. And he's got real fitness issues. He's also, what is he, 31 now? Is he? He's getting
30, 31, yeah.
So, we are a little bit light in that area. And then again, lovely fella, great servant, been there for us. But right now, I just like the look of our Onana. But look, don't get me wrong, guys. Like, Elise is unreal. But there was no way. By the way, if we've been quoted 50 million for Onana, I'm telling you, Elise is not 60 million. Palace will want.
He's got a release clause next summer.
There's a lot on this. Yeah, have a little look. But, there was talk about a release clause before he signed his contract. I was at Palace at the time he signed his contract. So I spoke to Steve Parish about it, and I can't remember if he said there was a release clause or not. There might well be, but Palace are
Palace, 60 million euros is what
60 million or something. Yeah, I think it might well be a little bit more. I don't know, but Elise's great, but what do you do? Where do you play him? That's my question. So over to you, Tom. My question to you: if Arsenal do go for Elise, where does he play?
The problem is because I play him on the right, but you've got Saka there. So, but the thing is, like, I think we do need another wide player. Like, I think we need another wide player to come in because, as Martinelli's not done it this season, Saka has been off it. I think has been struggling with a bit of an Achilles problem throughout the campaign. So you could do with someone to legitimately rotate him with and not see such a massive drop. And I think Elise, no matter if Elise makes the next step up, which is to an Arsenal, a Liverpool, or a Man City, he's going to be in the same scenario because City have already got you got Foden who can play on the right hand side, of course. Alvarez has played there a little bit as well. I think you got Liverpool with Salah. I mean, it's the same situation. So, and yet you still get Liverpool going and signing Jota, and they still go and sign Diaz and Gakpo. You look at the attackers they've got; it's ridiculous. Elliott can play in the front three as well and has done well. So Nunez, of course, can play in a wide area too if you wanted him to. So I think that Elise would add a lot to our forward options. Neto is the other wide player I really like at Wolves. But again, very expensive. So we'll have to wait and see. Summer's a long way away. You've got to get through January first.
Yeah, it's true. It's a brilliant question. We'd never get him, by the way, in January anyway, at least. So,
no, of course not.
But yeah, brilliant question. And yeah, it's a difficult one.
Benji, you're not going to like this one as much. Benji says, everyone says we're playing amazing and we're just lacking the finish. But if anything, that makes me angrier because eventually these performances will dry up and we will not have to capitalize on them.
Not have capitalized. Yeah, I get what he's saying. I know what he's saying. He's saying that, look, we're playing this way. We're not getting any rewards from it. So what's going to happen is the players are just going to, it's not working. But look, it'll fizzle out. But yeah, I don't know. There's times in that first half against Liverpool, I thought that was some of the best football we've played all season. Against Liverpool, top of the Premier League, flying, lost once in the league all season. So I wouldn't be too disappointed. I think this winter break's coming at a pretty good time for Arsenal, actually. Some time away, get themselves sorted. Don't panic. That's my don't panic, bench. Don't panic. It's all good. It'll be all right.
Don't sign anyone, and you're going to panic then.
If we don't sign anyone,
yeah,
I'm not. No, I won't panic. I'm not certain we will. January.
No, I don't think. I've said before. I think max we're going to get is one, and it'd probably be a loan.
Agreed. Yeah, January's such a tough window, and my colleagues at Sky they go full on in January. Of course they do. Love the transfers, and transfers get loads of traction with fans. Yeah. But that January window is notoriously difficult. It's getting even harder, I think, than it ever has been. Teams are just going, what, we can wait 4 or 5 months. It's unless you're getting a player who is, either out of contract in the summer and maybe a club will accept some money for them, knowing that they're going to go for a free in the summer, or somebody's nearing the end of their contract, maybe just losing faith. A club that's maybe just not really going anywhere. Yeah, it might be an opportunity. Maybe a club can get 100 million for a player in January and only get 80 million in the summer. Then maybe that's an option. But clubs don't like to sell mid-season. They really don't.
Don't have
So
100 million. So, it's
we don't
Hey,
either. So
we're trying to walk the tightrope of profit and sustainability rules. We're seeing the damage that's doing to Everton and Forest potentially as well. We'll learn about their fate very soon. Arsenal are a need to sell, I think, before any hope of any investment this window, and that means one player go. If you were to think the one player was going to go, who would you think it would be?
to give you one, I find maybe tricky. I could probably give you two though.
Okay.
I think in this week,
is that?
Yep, out they go. Look, for me, we've got. It's difficult because they're young, they're English, but Eddie Nketiah, Emil Smith Rowe, for me, are not the level that we need to go to the top. And also, what those two players will have is, again, they'll hold transfer value. They have transfer value. And for FFP, what makes it more important, pure profit, because they're Hale End Academy lads. So if we sell, I don't know, 25, 30 million each or whatever, I'm throwing it out there. That's profit, 60 million, bang, profit. And that puts us in a great place with FFP. So look, if that is an opportunity to free up cash for somebody they're desperate to get either in the summer or if they can make it happen in January, then great. For me, it'd be out of those two, Smith Rowe for me. I know a lot of fans won't like that, but for me, look,
He's not using him, is he? He's not playing him.
He's not playing him, but there's probably a reason why. In my opinion, I've struggled to see consistency. He had a little period, I think it was last season, a little period, didn't he, where he played pretty well for a run of games, but that's it. From my memory of him being an Arsenal player, it's very little consistency. And for me, he's just not at that level. And if someone wants to pay us a decent transfer bid for him, that could be one. So that would be mine.
Fans love him. Like whenever he comes on, the crowd, it's the loudest noise for any sub you'll hear when Emil Smith Rowe comes on because they love him. I know,
but that's fine, and I understand that. I'm not criticizing him, and I understand we love our own. Of course we do. We have a different affection towards him, as we were talking about Ramsdale earlier. But you've got to look at what he's bringing to the side, and is he the one that's going to take us to that level? Can he do that? I just haven't seen it myself. Where I think, okay, he's the one, he's the man, and the crowd go up to get a bit excited. But again, apart from that period last season, I haven't really seen him change a game.
Yeah, no, I think the last time I remember a really good performance of his, and I think you're going back a long way, was that was it the what was the game? I think I have to go back all the way to like 2022, really, to think about Smith Rowe. That's the Amazon documentary season. Obviously, he started a lot of games, played, scored in the North London derby in that season. But then Martinelli came through and reclaimed that spot. And then there's not really a place for him. So I think if Arsenal can get upwards of £30 million for Emil Smith Rowe, closer to 40 million maybe, you're looking at a very good deal. Pure profit on the books, of course. Nketiah, if you offered me 30 million, I'm taking it all day long for Eddie Nketiah. Reece Nelson, I spoke to him after the game against Liverpool on Sunday, and he said he's focused on Arsenal right now, despite there being a few rumours. You would expect him to say that, of course. But I asked him if he felt like he'd been justified in signing that new deal, and he didn't commit entirely to saying he felt like he had. He kind of just went, "I've signed it. I've been at Arsenal for a ridiculous number of years. It's my club." So he needs to. He was saying he needs to
again.
A minute.
Another player that. I like him. Another player who holds value. You need squad players still. Do I want to see more from him when he comes on? Yeah, end product. Again, I feel like he gets the ball, something happens, which I like. He adds that excitement. The fans get up on their feet a little bit, but he's just got to just tidy his play up a little bit more. But these are young English players that, again, I know I harp on about the transfer value, and people probably go, "Oh, shut up, mate! What are you talking about?" But it's for FFP. It's so important, and if we want to reinvest and we want to bring in these big players and spend, close to 100 million again on another player or a striker that we obviously probably do need at some point, then we need to make sure our books are level. And having players like Reece Nelson, Ellsworth Rowe, Eddie and Nketiah, who could potentially, between the three of them, bring in 80, 90 million, we're not in a bad spot.
Yeah, Balogun, of course, last summer was a great example of that. 35 million quid, you know, and he's pure profit. So Charlie Patino in the summer is another one, having a really good season at Swansea. He's got a year left on his deal. That could be some pure profit there as well for Arsenal in the summer. So we'll have to wait and see. James, been an absolute pleasure to speak with you, mate, as it always is. Tell people they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
Just actually going on holiday. As like the Arsenal boys, I'm doing exactly the same. Have a little break away, and then I'm sure towards the end of January, with the transfer window comes to a close, it might get a little bit busier. And then gearing up away from Sky, actually gearing up for the summer with the Euros and my events business for the fans. By the way, everybody, if you do check it out, we've got 10 UK venues now confirmed. So if you want to create that real atmosphere, we have DJs, legends, games, great massive screens, brilliant sound system, the best place to watch football if you can't be there. So have a little look, because we're going to do a big launch in the next couple of weeks towards the end of January, which should be good. It should be fun. So as long as England can do well, which I think they might well do this summer, I've got just a sneaky feeling this could be our summer. So I know I do.
Yeah.
But this year we've got Jude. We're in good hands.
Indeed, yeah. Jude in his prime, at the prime age of 20. Yes, that's it's incredible, really, isn't it? It's a midfield of Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, and I tell you what, Conor Gallagher is coming up in as an England player that I think is someone to keep an eye on. I think he's done excellent for Chelsea. I know people laugh at me when I say I like Conor Gallagher, but I do think he's a really good player. I
like him. I like him too.
So there you go. It's difficult to say you like a Chelsea player. I was really happy when Mason Mount looked like he was leaving Chelsea, because I quite like Mason Mount, but then he went Man United and it was like, oh, great. I hate him even more now. But that's the way it goes, of course. You can find James Green on Twitter at James Green in UK. Make sure you watch all of his stuff. As he mentioned, of course, the platform we're talking about at For The Fans events. Go and check one out. And at the end of January, say, James, you'll be able to
end of January, big launch, building to June, and 10 venues up and down the UK, all confirmed.
Lovely stuff. Looking forward to seeing it. We will be back, of course, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. bright and early. And thank you for listening. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and you can follow us on the socials you can see on the screen at the Gooner Talk TV, at Tom Canton Media. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will be back very, very shortly. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, and as always, up the Arsenal.